Welcome to the 1822 podcast, where R&B is alive, well, and thriving. And we're going to talk about that. So strap in and join us on this journey. 1822. What's going on, people? You are listening to the 1822 podcast with myself hosting today, Lee Detain. I've got Mr. Vinny Ryan sat alongside me today for R&B DJ from Loud Creative Radio. And of course, special guest today, we've got KP from The Colleagues. How are you doing, sir?
Doing all right. How y'all doing?
Yeah, we're good. You good, Vinny?
Yeah, all good.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Absolute pleasure and privilege to be able to have this conversation with you. Just want to talk kind of all things R&B, production, and so on and so forth. Get a few takes from you and all of that sort of stuff. But before we do get started, I have to ask you: you're 6 months into parenthood. How are you coping?
It's almost 6 months. Yeah, actually, it will be 6 months this year. This month. I'm sorry. Man, every time you get used to one thing, it switches up on you, and then you get introduced to something else.
Yeah, 100%. I always take comfort in that everyone says everything with kids is a phase. So when it gets really hard, I just think this is not going to last. It's not going to last. Everything's going to be okay. But yeah, those middle of the night, it's hard to convince yourself of that.
Oh man, tell me about it.
Have you found it difficult to juggle having a kid, obviously, with work and so on and so forth, or is it all balanced out quite nicely?
Honestly, man, I kind of figured it was gonna be really tough, and I just expected it to be harder than anything I've ever done. So I planned for the first couple months to just not do anything. So I planned on the projects dropping. I just did a lot of work before he was born, and once he was born January 25th. So from the 25th, maybe the beginning of the year, actually, from the beginning of the year all the way until March, April, I really just kind of just didn't do anything, and I didn't have any energy to do anything. But now we in with July now. Now it's like I'm starting to catch my groove now. You know what I mean? So it's getting a lot better now, a lot easier, should I say? Now, and we got a nanny too, so I guess that helps out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to the outside world, obviously, everyone's seeing your releases. No one would know that you've obviously planned it very well with your timing. So I salute you for your
Thank you.
Foresight on that.
Thank you.
Obviously, we are talking to you, KP, of The Colleagues, but The Colleagues is more than just you. Can you give us a little bit of an explanation as to who's involved and how it was all set up?
I started the Colleagues in 2008. To answer your question, the short answer is it's just me right now. But I started the Colleagues in 2008, and I had a couple members come along, and we lasted for a few years. And just one of them wanted to do his own thing, and God bless him. And we still talk to this day. We still cool. The other one fell off around 2020, and I wanted to go in a different direction, and I needed someone next to me that was gonna, help push me there. And it's no knock against him. It was just he just wasn't in that place to do that. So now it's just me, and I still hold down the name, and I just collab with a bunch of my homies and stuff. So it still feels like it's a team effort because I still don't do it alone.
You said that they wanted to go in one direction and you wanted to go in another. Can you tell us what those two directions are?
Well, one of the first one that left, he wanted to start his own group. I was kind of the leader, the one that made the decisions, the one that end all be all type. And he just kind of wanted to build his own team, and he typically didn't really care for. And I was, we've both grown in that situation. I was definitely a lot very immature at times, and so I don't blame him for feeling how he felt. But he wanted to have his own team and have his own say, and I don't blame him for that. And that was that. The other one, I it wasn't necessarily him going a different direction. It was just he was kind of, man, he was just complacent, to be brutally honest with you. Like, and I'm just type that's always what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next. And I needed a partner. I looked at some of the people out here that I really admired, producer wise, and I saw how they fired each other up and they were able to push each other. And if one represented they both represented the team. If one was one place, that he was representing, the other one was somewhere else doing something else for the team. And I didn't have that. And that's what I wanted. I wanted a partner that was going to go not 50-50, but 100-100 with me. And I was going to give it all. And I didn't feel like I was getting that. And so instead of begging for it all the time, I just decided to cut ties and say, you know what? I'd rather just give 100% to myself than let somebody give me 25-30%. And that's just being brutally honest. Nobody's ever asked me that before. Like, they just say, what happened? Like, oh, so it's just one of you, so just you right now? Okay. And they'll go on. So nobody actually had me go in depth about that. So yeah. Hopefully they don't take it no type of way when they hear this.
I hear you. Appreciate the honesty. And we'll talk about a few of your collaborations and also the kind of direction that you're heading versus where you've come from and so on and so forth as we go forward. You've obviously this year released the Love, Lust and Vulnerability EP with what, 5 superb tracks on there, an intro, an outro. I must say, I got to ask you, I really like the intro because the intro is obviously the first thing that occurred to me was it felt like watching an episode of Power, and it was like at the start where it's like previously on Power, and kind of gave you an update on everything that's happened prior to this.
Yeah.
Was that kind of your thinking with that creativity?
Yeah, I wanted to. I knew that this was gonna be a bigger platform for me on this album. This is my third one.
Mhm.
Coming off the album that I did with Raheem Devon, I knew I had a lot more people listening to me. So I was like, you know what? Let me let them know what I did before this, And so I feel bad because I made my homegirl, Crystal Parks, I made her drive like 45 minutes out the way. And it took us literally 2 minutes maybe to do that. And she was like, I could have did this at home. I was like, I know, but I just wanted it said a certain way. Like, I'm just very particular like that. So but I knew I wanted that for an intro, and I wanted to take my favorite songs, off the projects and just kind of, put them in there and maybe people will go back and listen to the old projects too if they like this one.
Previously, from the colleagues.
No need for conversation when the clothes come off. Just use your body. There is a heart that beats for you. There is a love I keep for you. If you wanna see life a luxury, bring yourself to me. Show me something different. Times you feel it.
Love, lust, vulnerability.
Yeah, I really do like that creativity. I don't think I've heard that anywhere else, despite the fact that obviously you hear it so often and see it with TV shows and so on and so forth. But I don't believe I've heard it in an album or an EP or anything like that before. So yeah, really hit me that one. And obviously you've just released Chardonnay Kisses with G Blizz.
Yeah.
That feels like a different vibe to the Love, Lust, Vulnerability, the album EP. It's kind of, to me, it felt a bit more kind of like lo-fi, a bit of a jazzy vibe. What was the thinking with that release by comparison?
Um, I love just making dope music. The whole reason of putting out my own music was when you work on other albums for you work when you work on an album for another artist, you got to go with their vision, their
Mm,
sound, what they need for their stuff. So when you release your own music, it's like I want to show what I can do, and I want to add the bells and whistles that you might not be able to add working with another artist. So Blizz is another producer, and we talk all the time. We're very close friends, and he said, "Man, let's do a jazz record. Let's just put it out." And I was like, all right, let's do like a jazz funk record. And I kind of started the idea, and he just he's amazing, and he just took it there, and we just went back and forth, and it came together real easily. Like, let's just do something that we wouldn't be able to do with another artist, and let's just show our creativity. And that's how it came about. It was no, it, we literally talked about it, and then it was out maybe 3 to 4 weeks later, and it's been doing really well so far.
Yeah, it's a great track, and it's interesting that obviously you have a certain style of music that I guess sometimes you want to make, but you don't foresee an artist necessarily being on it. But it's a certain type of vibe that you just want to put out there. Listening to your earlier work versus your more recent work, it feels like you were maybe more hip hop, rap kind of based, a lot of kind of like harder beats versus the kind of more recent R&B style. Is that just the direction that life has taken you, or is it that you
Yeah,
want to kind of be able to cover all bases? Or
yeah, definitely. My first introduction in the music industry, like working with major artists, was all trap music and rap music.
mm,
And when I started the colleagues, I started it and I was like, you know what? I want to do all different genres of music. My introduction to R&B, as far as who gave me the first opportunity, was Raheem Devon, and it kind of just spun from there. So at first, people used to look at us and call us hip hop producers, and then all of a sudden, we started doing K-pop after that, and then they start calling us
mm.
K-pop producers. Now we doing R&B. A lot of people know us just from the R&B stuff. So now it's just kind of like I just kind of just let people go with the flow. But yeah, it all started with hip hop, and that's why you're going to hear a lot of the earlier stuff, the Two Chains, the Nipsey Hustle, all that stuff Plies, all that stuff happened back to back to back, and then all of a sudden just the R&B wave came. But we do gospel. I do gospel, pop. I'm doing country right now, so it's a lot of stuff going on musically.
So it is covering all bases. If you had to place yourself in one genre, if you wanted to, maybe you don't want to, but where would that be? Would that be R&B or?
It's so hard because I literally, when I turn on my computer, I just say what I feel like making today. Because I love all
Mm.
music. I love house music. I haven't even gotten into the house music yet, but I love listening to house music. So, um, I can't put myself in any genre, but I just love making music.
I appreciate that. And that's actually a perfect segue into the next kind of thing I wanted to talk about, which both myself and Vinny have been talking about in great depth, is the what we've both referred to as the state of R&B, the good, the bad, and in some cases the damn right ugly. And obviously we've seen some major artists that I guess you'd probably class R&B, if any, who have drifted away and started to kind of make those dancey, housey type of vibes. We've also obviously seen some versus battles that were, maybe not highlighting R&B in the most beautiful light. And we've also seen other things like Usher's Tiny Desk concert, which was quite the contrary, in my opinion. Really, really showed off R&B in a good light, and also the fellas that were on with him. Vinny, I know that you have kind of jumped up and down with the state of R&B. What are your thoughts at the moment?
I think the versus format may have run its course, and I think they're bringing out whoever they can bring out, but they're not really looking at the quality. And that's why that Usher Tiny Desk came at a really good time, because that week that we had was just a bit of a mess. I'm not sure what happened to some of these artists. I mean, they've obviously had careers, they could obviously sing, but obviously in that setting, that environment, I don't know what that was about, but it didn't come across very well.
No, and I do, sometimes with R&B, because obviously R&B, for the purists, I think a lot of people look back to the '90s maybe as the golden era of R&B. I think if you are actively listening to R&B, there is some incredible R&B artists and music out at the moment over the last 5 to 10 years. But obviously, at the top, as I referred to, the artists like Drake, Beyonce. If you could class them as R&B. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Have obviously recently drifted away. KP, what's your thoughts on the Drake album and the direction that he took? Because it seemed to be a real mixed reception.
Man, to be honest with you, man, that Drake album probably got one spin from me.
Mm,
I listened to it all the way through, and I love Drake. That's why I listened to it all the way through, and I got the direction where he was trying to go. It just didn't connect with me, and that's okay. It's a shame that you have to kind of walk on eggshells when you're critiquing an album nowadays because people are just overly sensitive. But I just thought the album was okay. I thought it was cool. Maybe if I just beat it in my head and just kept listening to it all day, I'll feel different. But when I heard the Beyonce, it was automatically like, this is my favorite song of the year. You know, that Beyonce was just amazing. Now I can and I heard her album is going to be like a fusion of house, just kind of showing love and paying homage to older songs, from what I heard, older artists. So I can't wait to hear that. But Beyonce hit me automatically. I was like, oh, this is it right here.
you were much the same, Vinny, right?
Yeah, I think the problem with the Drake album as well is he had the project out last year, Certified Lover Boy, and that was a bit hit and miss as well. I weren't particularly into the singles that he brought out on that one, the Way Too Sexy one. And
Hmm.
I think he needed to come back with something to say, I can still do this. The thing with someone like Drake is they're always going to get criticized. They're at a point of
Hmm.
fame which is gone beyond. So anything new will never be as good as something they brought out before. That just seems to be the nature of the music business. But as for Beyonce, because it's been so long since she dropped, there was excitement around it, and yeah, I agree. The Beyonce song, I don't think you were big into it, Lee, were you?
I think, do you know what? I think if it came out before the Drake stuff, I think I would have been more open minded and receptive to it. I think my personal problem is I guess I see a Beyonce, a Drake, and I think, you see a new release, and I think I know what I'm going to get, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be really great R&B music, and then when it isn't, in particular with Drake, I was just like, oh, dude, why have you done this? And it's not to say that there's not art in it; it's just not what I personally hoped for, and I think the same with Beyonce, and I don't think I've managed to get out of my own way on that one, but I am really looking forward to hearing the album and seeing what that does. Obviously, as we know, it's not going to be down the R&B route, but Beyonce is not strictly R&B anyway, so not in the same way that I kind of felt with the Drake stuff. But as you said, with the Certified Lover Boy album, I quite enjoyed it. And most of the criticisms that I saw was people saying it was too samey. The following project, people criticized because it was too different. I guess sometimes you just can't win,
Can't wait. Yeah.
and you just got to do you. When obviously that's kind of like the R&B side of things, and we're talking specifically about vocalists from a producer's perspective, like in terms of when you're making a beat, when you're making a track, do you ever sit there and think this is for this artist, or do you just kind of you start to flow, you make a beat, and then maybe when it's finished you think this would be great for so and so, or do you send it out to multiple people and see if you get a bite, or what's the process with that?
It works different ways. So I might have Eric Bellinger in mind. If somebody come to me and says, "Hey, Eric Bellinger needs this," or Vito's manager come to me and says, "Hey, Vito needs this," or Raheem or whoever, Teedra, I'm like, all right, I know I'm making something for them, so I'm keeping them in mind. But majority of the time, it's just being creative and just having somebody in mind, and just trying to keep it open vocally, because sometimes you might make it for a rapper and it goes to a singer, or the vice versa. Nowadays the lines are very blurred, between rappers and singers. So yeah, so I mean, sometimes it's just creating and just seeing where it goes, and just sending it out.
Do you ever like have you ever tried your hand at either rapping or singing? I believe when I was reading up that you may have done a bit of singing in the past. Is that right?
Nah, I definitely didn't sing, but my whole this whole music journey started because I wanted to be a rapper. You know, we're going back to being 12 years old, and I used to, I had a rap group with my cousins, and I used to draw album covers and record everybody, and I was the Birdman, I was the Master P. I did the beats. I used to write everybody's lyrics down. Like, I really knew what I wanted to do at an early age. So yeah, but singing, I so it's funny. I don't sing, but I will go on tracks and sample myself and do background sometimes. If I
Hmm.
hear certain things, like, I'll go in there and sing it, but I don't try to like do backgrounds for Teedra or for Raheem or nothing like that, or T Pain or nothing like that. Like, nah, but I'll still sample my vocals to kind of give it the touch that I need.
Yeah, for sure. What? Yeah, I mean, this is a huge question and vague, but in terms of your production experience, and this is a loaded question because I will move on to something else. What's the best and the worst of it? The whole kind of experience. What's the kind of the moment that makes it feel like this is why I do this, and what's the moment that makes you question why you do it, if any?
Whew, that is a loaded question. All right, so the first one you said is what's the worst of it,
Mm.
of the music business?
Uh, However you want to see it, just from your experience as a producer.
The worst of it is sometimes the music doesn't matter. It's all about who you've worked with, your resume, and people overlook the actual music. And it's about, and people show you love because you did work with XYZ, and not because of the type of music you make or your character or anything. You're judged by your resume. And I really don't like that part. I'm the type of person that I don't care who you've worked with, what you've done. I try to treat you, if you're a great dude or a great woman, I try to, just go off of that. And that's not how everybody treats you in the music industry. You know what I mean? That's such a loaded question. I can go on forever about that. As far as the best part, when you reach people all across the world, man, me sitting here talking to both of y'all, it's just, at the end of the day, I still feel like that 18-year-old kid that when I first got in, and I just wanted somebody to hear my music. And to sit here and be talking to you guys, and you're in London, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, to sit here and be talking to you guys about my music and things that I've done, it still feels like surreal. I still feel like a rookie at times, and I've been doing this for a while. So that's the best part. It reminds you of why you do this. Or when somebody, I remember going to a concert. It was my first concert that I ever went to of someone that I produced for. It was Raheem
Mm.
Devon, and he performed one of the songs that we did. And I remember the people behind us was like, we got married to this song, and her and her spouse were sitting there slow dancing behind us, and I just sat there and, like, I was like fighting tears, because it was
That's
just like,
mad.
this is exactly what you do music for, is for these type of moments. People use your music to get over things. People use your music to celebrate moments. People use your music to celebrate things, to get married, whether get married or you're partying. They had good times to it. So that's the best part of music, that people all around the world that you probably never meet and never connect with have some type of connection with you.
That's deep. I appreciate that. In the circumstances where you were at Raheem's concert
Mhm.
and you heard that, uh, were they aware of who you were
Nah.
and what you had? Yeah, were
No,
you
it
tempted
was.
to be like, "This was me"?
What's funny is, afterwards, at the time, I've never met Raheem face to face. Everything was via text or call. So this was in Atlanta before I moved to Atlanta, and me and my wife drove up from Daytona. And afterwards, Raheem said, I'm signing autographs or taking pictures, meet everybody outside. So it must have been about 600 people in line, 500, 600 people in line waiting. And I didn't want to skip to the front of the line. Now I would, I wouldn't wait in line. But at the time, I didn't know him to just skip the front of the line and be like, hey, it's me. So I stood in line. Me and my wife stood in line. And when we got to the front, he didn't notice me. He was like, "What's up, man? You want to take a picture?" And I was like, "Nah, man. KP, the colleagues." He's like, "Oh man," and he takes me and like shows me to the crowd and says, "Hey, everybody, this is the guy that did da 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 da," and he starts naming the songs off the album, and a girl screams out, "You made him wait in line?" And he was like, "Nah, I didn't know. Like, this is our first time meeting." So that, like, I would never like just voluntarily give that information out. Like, I produced for such and such. I did this and this and this. That's just not my character. But he did it for me, and I remember everybody's faces were like, "Wow, like." That's what's up. That's cool, But yeah, to answer your question, yeah.
Interesting. That's really deep. I appreciate that. Um, so when I asked you the question about the best and worst, I mentioned it was a loaded question.
Mhm.
I saw some comments that I know you have seen, because I saw you had a little reaction, and you can decline to comment if you want. Bobby Schmurder had some stuff to say about producers and costs, and so all of that side of things. I can imagine that sort of stuff must be difficult and a real downside of when and I'll say what I think, and you can choose
All
to do
right.
so as well if you want to. In that, obviously, everyone has their part in a journey of making a single track, and each of those people should be paid what they are due to be paid for their part of the job, just like any job in the world. And it felt to me like his comments, the video as well was really quite aggressive. In the manner that like he was delivering it, like there seemed like a real frustration behind what he was saying, but to me it didn't really feel justified. um, that side of things, is that something that comes up often with people just not wanting to pay the going rate for a beat or for a feature or a verse?
Imagine this. These songs in the music industry, man, they'll record the song. The engineer get paid for the studio time. Engineer get paid for the mix. They'll shoot a whole video to it. The people that shoot the video will get paid. Everybody gets paid, and then the producer is last. And then they'll be like, "Oh, we don't have anything left in the budget to pay you for this." But they're making money off the record. They're making money off the streams. They're going on tour off the record. So that's what we have to deal with. And then they try to bargain with you and try to lowball you and say, "Well, we got." I don't want to throw numbers out there. I will, because everybody's different. They might say, "Oh, we got 5,000 left," but they know they can pay you 25,000 for it, and then they just try to lowball you. That's the type of stuff that we have to deal with. I think the Bobby Smurda situation was a little different because I'm hearing different stories. I'm hearing that the person it was multiple producers on the track, and everybody was trying to charge the same rate. So say like everybody was trying to get 10 grand a piece or something like that, when that's just ridiculous. But I don't know what that situation is, but I know that it's really, really, really hard to be a music producer full time and depend on people paying you for beats. Like, it's already hard in itself, but it's hard to rappers do not like paying for beats. Like, that's just what it is. I feel like R&B artists are better, to work with. They're easier to work with. Rappers have these egos, and they got all the bling on, the chains, and then they don't want to pay you. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I can put so many artists under the bus that have not paid me for records
Mm,
and looked at me crazy, but then paid, their peoples paid the producers with the bigger names. They made sure they paid them, but anybody else that they felt like you should be honored to be working with me, they don't want to pay you, or you got to fight for your money. There's times where the record is out there and you have to chase down your money for a year, 2 years, even sometimes even longer than that. That's probably the most frustrating part in this whole thing, is when you're trying to get consistent income and you have to continuously chase your money. That
yeah,
that sucks.
definitely. Yeah, that's not on. And I was just intrigued to know whether or not that is something that occurs often.
Too often.
Yeah, uh, and hence why, as I said, it was a loaded question, because I could imagine that would be a time where you kind of question whether or not it's worth it, because you're doing. the quality job, and like in any line of work, if you're doing the job, you should be paid,
Yeah,
regardless, and on time. Furthermore,
exactly.
um, if a producer was starting out in the game now, given your experience, what would be your advice to them? And if you had to kind of give them a very rough game plan to work off, what would that look like?
My advice would be to treat people how you want to be treated. It's something that we all been taught. Hopefully, all of us been taught when we were little kids. Treat people how you want to be treated. It's so simple. Don't try to walk over this person to get to the next person, because the people that you see now that's interns, the people that you see now that's the water boy at the studio, whatever, or the runner, should I say, are going to be the ones that are the CEOs. Those are ones that's going to be in a position of power later on.
Mm,
So, don't treat the person that you don't think that can do anything for you like nothing now, just because they might not be in a position to, because later on, 2, 3, 4 years from now, they might be able to turn around and bless you. And that's been my career right there. I treated everybody fairly and well, and I feel like that's why I've been blessed to be able to be where I'm at, because people turn around and bless me years later. Game plan wise, um, I mean, first of all, let me go back to the advice. The advice could go on even more. There's gonna be bad days, really, really bad days. There's gonna be really, really good days. And you can't let neither one get to you. Can't let the good days pump your head up too much, and you can't let the bad days get you down. It's very, very critical that you keep a circle around you that can remind you of why you do what you do, that can keep your head up. Man, just last week, not even last week, 3, 4 days ago, I was just having a conversation with Blizz, and because I was having my moment. And it's very, very imperative that you can have somebody that you can lean on to, and that you can sit there and vent to, that won't judge you, that'll sit there and get your mind back right, because it's going to happen. My last piece of advice, because I can go on all day, is do not compare yourself. Don't ever compare
yeah.
yourself. Instagram is nothing but a big old show and tell. Everybody's, look at my new car, look at my new house, and I'm in the Maldives, I'm in London, I'm in, I'm all over, I'm in Africa. Everybody's on private flights, everybody's showing off plaques, everybody's doing all this stuff, and it's just kind of like, if you could you'll literally diminish your own blessing by sitting there looking at someone else. You can I remember one time I had got my first like $10,000 check, and I was like, "Man, this is nice. Man, I wish I can keep getting these." And then I seen somebody talking about getting $100,000 check, and it made me feel like I wasn't doing anything. And it
Mm,
was like, at that moment, I made myself feel low just by comparing myself to somebody who had been doing this longer, who had, I should it doesn't matter if they were doing it longer or not. I shouldn't have been comparing myself. But right there, I just took the joy out of everything that I was just feeling, because I was comparing myself. So comparing yourself can literally, it'll kill you. So to go back to your game plan. Now the game has changed. I wouldn't be concerned about money at first. Build relationships, and just try to get in how you can get in, and understand that relationships are everything in this industry, everything. So I don't I was never the type that tried to stress about money, as far as, oh, I need you to pay me this and this and this. I didn't have a resume, and I knew real quickly that my resume was everything. So I was like, okay, if I could build my resume, then people will want to pay me more, because they don't know if I got paid or not. All they see is my resume. So if I can get some people
mm.
on my resume, that'll make other people want to work with me. So it's just like, build your resume, try to network as much as you can, and don't be afraid to put your work out there. So many people are waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for all. You got to just take chances and just step out on the ledge and just do it.
It's deep. Very good advice indeed. And I'm sure, as you said, you could probably go on for a long time with advice based on experience and so on and so forth.
Oh yeah, now I have producers that I tell all the time to call me. I have people that introduce me to up and coming producers, and I'll literally block out 2, 3 hours out of my time and just answer any questions they have, because I didn't have that when I was coming up. I had no one to talk to. So I don't charge them or nothing. I just be like, look, I'll tell you everything that I know. And it's at the time I can't tell you. I know I can't tell them everything I know because I gotta break it down because I can go easily above their head. I meet them at the level that they're at. Where do you need the help at? Okay, I'm gonna help you right here, and we're gonna talk about this, and this, and this, and I'll answer anything because I didn't have that coming up. I had to figure it out by getting it wrong.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So, if you didn't have those kind of above you to talk to, who, from a producer's perspective, who was it that inspired you to do to do you?
As far as like who do I look up to in the music industry that I actually know, or that I just that inspired me?
No, that inspired you.
Oh man, Manny Fresh. Manny Fresh. This was all right. So Manny Fresh, DJ Paul and Juicy J, and who am I forgetting? And Organized Noise, and I'll break down each one. So Manny Fresh, because Manny Fresh just he was flamboyant just on the track, like ladies and gentlemen, all that stuff, and boys and girls, dogs and kittens, and I just loved the way he was just on the track and just out there. And because and then GJ Paul and Juicy J, I loved how they were. That's back when I wanted to rap, so they were the rappers, producers, you know what I mean. So I loved how they made the track and they were rapping. I guess Manny was somewhat of a rapper too. And then an Organized Noise, they made all the Outcast, Goody Mob, and everything. But I
Mm,
loved the live instrumentation. I loved how they would make it sound real funky, southern, but it was live though. And that's when I knew I was like, I loved them, their sound, but it was Manny and Paul and Juicy that really made me feel like I love producers. And that at that time I didn't even want to be a producer. I wanted to be a rapper. But who made me feel like this is something I can do is Lil Jon. Lil Jon was killing it, and it was the simplest beats I've ever heard. And he would put a snap in there, and he would just start yelling over the track, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like this is different," And John made me feel like I could be a producer because it was so simple, and that's why my beats now are very simple, not too much going on. I know I can do some musical type beats, but I understood to leave room, and that's what John did. He taught me how to leave
mm,
room on the tracks and not have too much going on, and you can still have that presence as a producer and still be able to yell and do all that stuff and have the track breathe. So yeah, Lil Jon, Manny Fresh, DJ Paul, Juicy J, Organized Noise, and Timbaland, of course.
mm. Yeah, I appreciate that. Leave room. That's a real. There's a real maturity to that suggestion. I
Yeah,
think I can imagine um, a lot of people who are making beats are probably thinking it has to sound like a full finished project. But obviously, if you are looking to collaborate with a singer or a rapper, you have to, as you said, leave room. It's really important advice. Um, Aside from that, the next thing I was going to ask you, I guess, is probably answered with that. But is there anything else that you think is key to making a top tier instrumental? I mean, I know that you're big on real instruments, right?
yeah, I love it all as long as it sounds and feels good. And that doesn't mean it has to be any type of genre. It just even if it's country, if it just feels good, you just know. I don't know. I don't have any. My whole advice is make sure you have room. Don't have too much going on. Uh,
An element of simplicity.
yeah, simplicity is key. Um, and the melody is everything. If you can catch people's attention right out the gate. Oh, I guess I can say this. Catch their attention right out the gate. You got 10, 15 seconds to kind of catch the listener's ear before you kind of lose them. I learned that the hard way. Back in the day, I tried to sell my first beat, and I remember I used to do like these long, drawn out 45-second intros, and the guy pushed play, and before we even got this maybe 15 seconds, he hit next, and I was like, it didn't even drop into the special part where it was about to,
Yeah,
but I learned, oh, I have to catch their attention very, very early, or else they're going to hit next. Learning how to format songs, because you can format the song completely wrong, and you can lose the listener that way too, or the artist, or whoever it is. So you have to know how to format the song, keep their ear engaged. So I keep all that stuff in mind. Now, sometimes when I might even when I'm sending the beat to an artist, I might have it somewhat formatted, and they might format it differently. Do you understand what I mean when I say format?
I
The
assume you mean
structure,
as
the
in,
the
yeah, yeah,
structure, the
yeah,
verse, the intro, verse, hook.
hook,
You want to make
verse,
sure
yeah,
that all those moving parts are coming in and coming out at the right time. And every beat is different. You really have to follow what the beat is telling you to do. So yeah, because you can lose a listener or artist. And some artists, a lot of these rappers don't have they're not patient enough to tell you, I like when the kick comes in right here. Let's move the kick right there. Some of them just it'll be a take it or leave it. Nope, I don't like it because I don't like the format. Damn, you could have told me I could have moved. So you
yeah.
have to know when you play these records, you have to have it somewhat formatted to where, because sometimes they'll get on it and leave the format, the structure how it is, and they might not adjust anything at all. So it's sometimes it can be take it or leave it, or sometimes they actually work with you. So know how to structure a song.
So that's obviously making a beat in
Mhm.
terms of what other people would be looking for from you. What is it that you look for from an artist when you're going to be collaborating? Is there certain things that you really look for in a particular artist, or you just generally? I know you've worked with all sorts of different artists from all sorts of different genres. Are you just very open minded? Something just catches you, or is there something you look for?
I typically will say, I'll ask the artist, what direction are you going in on this project? I'll ask to hear it because I don't want to do anything that they've already done, but I don't want to do anything too far away from where the sound is at. So I would like to hear the project. Sometimes they're at the beginning, they don't know, and then now you're just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. But what I look for, that's basically what I look for. I just want to see what direction you're going in. And if they don't have a direction, if it's a new artist that I've never worked with before and I'm trying to understand their sound, I'm basically gonna just let me hear some of the stuff that you like. Let me hear what you like. Let me hear you sing or rap. Let me hear what your sound what would be your ideal sound. What do you like about this beat? If they play a Travis Scott record from me, it's like, okay, what do you like about this Travis Scott? Okay, you like the 808s. All right. What do you like about this Drake record? Okay, so you like the keys and this. And I can start putting stuff together. Like, okay, they like the Travis Scott 808s. They like the Drake melodies. They like this and this. And I can kind of piece it together that way.
Makes sense. Going back to actually what you said about having to make your mark with your beat instantly, I must admit that when I was one of maybe the first couple of radio shows of Vinny's that I listened to, and I was driving in the car, and 90s Kind of Love came on. Hadn't heard it before, and as soon as it dropped, I was like, I knew it was an absolute hit before I'd heard anything. It was just the immediate impact. Not to mention, obviously, Teedra comes in. I wasn't anticipating, I didn't know Teedra was on the track, which just made it even better. Like, honestly, just want to take the opportunity to say what a phenomenal song that is. I absolutely loved it. And I heard it and I was like, I don't think there's a lot of tracks like this.
The colleagues.
Thank you. I'll tell y'all something I haven't even told anybody yet because I haven't done any interviews since the album dropped. But that record was years in the making. I met Teedra through Raheem. Raheem introduced me to her around 2015 or so, and me and Teedra just never connected. We had each other's number, but just never connected, and we follow each other on social media. And then when I started working on the project, no, this was in the pandemic. We did this record in the pandemic, and I put it out prematurely. This was supposed to be on the last project, and it was very hard to get in contact with Teedra. Teedra's one of those, I would hit her up and she would respond to me a week later. And so I was like, man. So when it got down to me putting the record out, I was like, man, I'm just gonna put this record out. Teacher taking too long. So I hit Teedra up like maybe 4 to 5 days before the record was supposed to originally drop in 2020, like I said. And I said, hey, Teacher, just let you know the record's dropping next week. She's like, hold on, you didn't even let me. Now she responded right away, like you didn't even let me hear it. And I'm like, okay, I'll send it to you. And I sent it to her, and she said, I'm about to call you. I'm like, uh-oh. And she calls me, and Teedra let me have it. I don't know if y'all use that phrase in London when we say let you have it. I mean, she went off on me.
Yeah.
And Teedra was like, this record isn't finished. I don't like the way this record sounds. And I felt like, oh my gosh, like I felt lower than low. And I was so upset with myself, like, wow, like why didn't I let her hear this record? And she says, I thought you was gonna build more on the production. And I'm so glad that she said that, because we took the record to another level. I called up my boy Frank Rose, and I had Frank add in some musical elements, the changes, and it just took the record to another level. And we, we redid the mix and everything on it. And then she, but it took almost 9-10 months for that to happen. Like I had to get her vocals, I had to get a lot of stuff done, and then I just started procrastinating on when I was going to put the record out. And then finally, when she heard the final version, she called me and was like, baby, this record right here, I love it, it's a hit. And I was like, oh my god, thank you for saying that. So now I felt like I'm ready for everybody to hear this record. And the response was great. And so I knew I was going to tell that story once everything settled down and it all worked out. I was like, wow, Teacher really went off on me. Like that was our first time talking, and it was like, oh goodness, like she just let me have it. But thank you. I'm glad that you like it. It was definitely a lot that went into that record.
You can tell, and it makes sense now hearing that it was built over a long period of time, because, as I said, it's such a top record, and as they say, Rome wasn't built in a day, and all that. So,
Yeah.
as I like to do on podcasts, I want to end with like a quick fire round. I'm going to shoot some questions at you. I'm not going to lie, some of them aren't easy, but see what comes to mind. Firstly,
All right.
some are music based, some are not. What was your favorite TV show growing up?
Martin, Fresh Prince.
Nice. Have you seen Bel Air?
Absolutely, I love it.
It's good, right?
I wasn't even a fan. I didn't think that was going to be a good show. I was like, why are they messing with a classic? And now I
Yeah.
love it. Like, it's amazing.
I went in exactly the same. I was really reluctant to watch it. And then the moment I pressed play, it captured me immediately.
Yes.
Music,
Yes.
production, everything on it was really good. I really liked the J. Cole bit of this. I'm a huge J. Cole fan. So when I heard that bit at the start, when it was like, first things first, rest in peace, Uncle Phil, I was like, okay, they're doing this properly. Let's go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what's your go-to pizza order?
What I like on my pizza?
Mm,
That's what you're asking me?
yeah, that's right. It's very important to me.
See, pizza's pizza. That's like top two for me. So I'm very picky when it comes to pizza. Extra pepperoni, mushrooms. I just started doing that mushroom stuff.
Yeah,
Extra pepperoni, mushroom, and sometimes sausage, but and jalapenos.
Oh, yeah.
nice.
But sometimes I'm not in the mood for sausage, and I'll just do extra pepperonis, mushroom, and jalapeno. Damn, now I want some pizza now.
Where's the best place to eat in Atlanta?
I'm the wrong one to ask that, because I just like really dope steakhouses. So if you ask me, I'm not the person that's going to tell you these hole in the wall places that has like really good food.
Mm,
I'm typically going to tell you a nice steakhouse. So if y'all ever come down, we can go to like Chops or something. It's a place called Chops Steakhouse. That's really good. Um, I like Del Frisco, but only the Dunwoody Del Frisco, not the one in Buckhead. Let me think. What else? Those are the two right now. That's on. Yeah, those are the two right now.
Okay. What's your favorite film, if you can pick one?
So I have my favorite. I have the. It's different categories. What type of categories are we talking? I got black films. I got comedy, like as far as like just all around comedy. I got horror. Like what are we doing?
I want the one that springs to mind.
Coming to America. You might be
Yeah.
too young for that.
No, no.
Nah.
Coming to
Unfortunately, not.
I can't just name one, so I'm gonna say Coming to America. All right, you didn't ask for it, but I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna do comedy. Coming to America, uh, Boomerang, uh, Friday, um, Life. Those are my comedy movies now. Or I'll throw. So then I have my favorite all around movies that I don't consider like black movies. Then I got to throw Hitch in there. I know Will Smith's the the leader, but it doesn't feel like a black movie. So they got Hitch. I love Pursuit of Happiness. Like, let me think. I love Ray.
Mm,
Oh, and then how can I forget Forrest Gump? I can watch anytime Forrest Gump comes on TNT or any of them other channels. I'll stop whatever I'm doing and just start watching. I love Forrest Gump.
timeless. I'm going to test your knowledge here on our side of the pond. Who is your favorite UK artist?
I can't tell you I have one.
Ooh.
That's bad, is it?
We'll have
Tell
to
me
put you
yours,
on
and
to
then I'll
some.
tell you if I like them or not.
All right. Well, where do we begin? Vinny, I'm going to hand over to you.
Oh, I knew you'd do that.
No, you can't do that. You can't do that. You have to. You got to give me. I don't want one. Just give me a couple of them.
I think one of the best at the moment is Little Sims. I think
Mm,
check her out. She's I think one of the best out there at the moment doing it from the UK. And then
Okay.
of course you got people like Ella May and that. Obviously they're
yeah,
Oh yeah,
LMA
that's
springs to
right. That's
mind.
right. She is from UK. Okay, LMA's dope.
There's a dude I would put on your radar called Jack James. Uh,
Oh yeah. Jack
yeah,
James.
yeah. I really like Jack James at the moment. I'm enjoying everything that he puts out at the moment. So
See, sometimes when these artists they're singing, I can't understand. I don't hear the accent, so I might not know that they're a UK artist
mm,
until you like hear them talk in interviews and stuff. Same thing with the actors, the actresses and actors and everything. You might not know that they're not from US until you hear them talk, or they might tell you, and they're like, "Oh wow, I didn't know that." But yeah, Jack James is dope too.
yeah, Jack James actually, exactly as you said. When I first listened to his music, I think "Joyride" was the first tune of his I had heard, and I was listening to it. I didn't know he was English, and then one particular line he says, "If we're running out of petrol," and I'm like, "Oh,
yeah.
he's English." um, okay, real tough one, and you can't say any of your own. What is the best album of all time?
I would never say my own.
Yeah, some people would.
Best album of all time.
What a question.
I know. It's,
Only one answer? Like one
yeah,
album?
I want the one that jumps out when the question's asked.
Man, Kendrick Lamar, good kid. Damn, good kid, Mad City, good kid, Mad City. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably the. I can listen to that album all the way through. Skits, I know all the skits. Like that
Mm.
album's just incredible to me. Good kid,
Vinny,
Mad City.
same question for you.
Well, favorite album of all time, any genre.
Hmm. Yeah, any genre.
Oh, it's going to be Stevie Wonder. Innovisions,
Yeah,
probably.
Gosh,
big
man, y'all
Stevie
making
man.
me feel.
Or Lauren Hill, Miseducation.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
Yeah.
Mine always was 8701. But over time,
Wow, you
I
like
do.
8701 over
I
Confessions?
well, I was gonna say over time, I feel like Confessions has beaten it.
it's
But
aged
probably
better.
just because, yeah, I think it's that. I think you could put it on right now and it would sound incredible. Whereas a good few songs on 8701 maybe don't age as well, but still phenomenal. But Usher for me, yeah, top tier. Last couple. What is the song that you have made that you're most proud of for any reason?
Wow. I will have to say it's not my biggest song, but No Regrets, Nipsey Hussle,
Hmm.
and that's obviously because the legacy that Nipsey left behind.
Yeah.
As y'all can see behind me, I think you can see behind me the
Yeah.
Nipsey one, the red one. So, um, yeah, man, that the being a part of that project was special from the beginning. Not even when he died, it was special from the beginning. It literally changed my career. I did my first radio interview because of that song, because of that project. It was just a big moment. I guess I'll tell y'all. I don't know how big it was out there for y'all, but Nipsey decided to drop this Crenshaw mixtape in the mixtape era, and he wanted to release it for $100, and everybody was freaking out, like, what, $100? Like, are you serious? And people were laughing, like, it's not gonna happen because Nipsey wasn't that guy, to be honest with you. At that time, he wasn't like
Hmm.
huge to say he's going to do that. But he had a hardcore fan base, and he showed people I don't need to have the whole world rocking with me like how they rocking with Kendrick right now to be able to do this. I just need to have a loyal fan base. And he he starts showing proof that people were pre-ordering this mixtape for $100. And then the day that the mixtape drops, he had a store, the Crenshaw store in LA, and the line was wrapped around the corner, and he sold 1,000 copies at $100 a piece, and he sold out in a few hours. And
Crazy.
and then Jay-Z steps in and buys 10 copies or 100 copies, and then Eminem steps in and starts buying copies, and then now it's on the news now. So I remember turning on Wendy Williams show, and she was talking about it. And I was like, wow, this is actually bigger than I thought. And then that's when everybody started hitting me up like, yo, you was on the Nipsey project. And then of course, when he died, it was just it made the project legendary because it hit the billboards. It didn't even hit the billboards when it dropped originally, but it hit the
Mm.
billboards once he passed away. And now it's one of those, when people come in my house and they see the Nipsey billboard, they always have questions about that. And so that's something I'm proud of. I'm proud of a lot of the work I've done, but that one right there is definitely, it's something I can tell my kids.
Mm.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that story. Last one. If you're to begin making a 5-track EP and you
Mhm.
can have one artist per track and it can't include any artists you've already worked with, who's on
Mhm.
it? And there's no limitations on this.
Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
Living, right?
Yeah.
Living. Okay. Stevie Wonder. Drake. Beyonce. Music Soul Child.
Mm,
Uh, Kendrick Lamar.
nice.
I look
Oh,
forward
Um,
to
there we
hearing
go.
that.
I know that's a
Yeah.
majority. I know that's a majority R&B, but Kendrick Lamar could still make it work.
Mm.
So
For sure.
yeah,
Yeah. We look forward to hearing it. Make it happen.
I need to work with Stevie.
Don't we all? All right, man. That's a wrap on the questions that I've got for you today. I really appreciate your time jumping on
Thank
the
y'all.
1822 podcast with myself and Vinny Ryan.
Yeah.
This has been KP, the colleagues, and we out.
All right, y'all.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the 1822 podcast. Make sure to subscribe on your listening platform and follow us across social media at 1822 Music.